everybody. Welcome back to the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. I am so thrilled that you're here twice a week, every week, to bring you all the great hits of what's going on to be your best lawyer self. And, my job again is to bring you great guests that are going to add value in your life. And today is 100% no different. I've got Rochelle waiting in the wings. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm thrilled to be with you.
Second
Great.
time. You made it
Second
back.
time. Nice to be back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did something right the first time, I think, is what this is about.
Thank
Um,
you.
awesome, awesome. Let's start with our quote of the show, and then we'll jump in. It's Lao Tzu, uh, which he's got to be dead, right? This is old.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. All right, here we go. If you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. So, welcome to the show, and why that quote, and what does that quote kind of mean to you? What does it say to you?
Gosh, this is a perfect quote for me because the work that I do is all based on the power of creativity, which most people say, why does that matter to me? But the truth is that when you tap into that creative energy that is in you, and I'll talk more about that in a little while, is where you really do wake yourself up, and you wake up parts of yourself that you may rush through your day right now and not typically connect to.
Yeah.
And when you really do connect your heart and have that energy that's activated, you become a powerful creator and you have more energy for everything that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea of being creative in marketing. And I know that you can be creative as a lawyer in your, briefs or in your
Mhm.
closing arguments, or there's so many different ways. I mean, my father, the late great Larry the lawyer, I remember I gave him a 12-page document to review. He gave me 15 pages of changes and notes. And some of them were incredibly creative, the things that he was trying to do. And I'll tell you a quick little thing. He ended up getting me like a $20,000 parking spot because he put in the contract in this condo that if the person didn't sell the extra space within a year, then it gets automatically transitioned over to me. And I remember the guy called me up like 13 months later, and I knew the date, and he's like, "Oh, you ready to buy my spot?" I was like, "You mean my spot?" And we got in a big fight. It was great. But that's the kind of creativity that I think lawyers can appreciate. But I personally am a fan of coming up with an idea that on a post or on a subject or on an article or something that I can take from real life and use. Is that
I
what you're
think it's a
talking
great
about?
example. I mean, I started out thinking about our conversation in terms of how lawyers tend to, lean hard into their left brains. It's what are the facts and what are what's the law,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the truth is that you can bring a lot of creative um, possibility into that part, which your story just perfectly illustrated. I love that
yeah.
story,
Oh,
right?
all
So
right.
what are the other options, or what are the extra ways of thinking about this, or that we can creatively uh, maximize
Right.
the best outcomes? And we do live in an era where people are posting and being visible in a way that maybe 5 years ago lawyers never thought about.
Yeah.
And when you think about the personal brand and the way that you show up in the world, that you can use a lot of creative energy instead of feeling like there's a formula, I got to stick to a formula, or not really showing your full personality. So, yeah, I love that
Yeah.
idea of really stepping into a creative mindset in the way that you show up.
Yeah, and I want to get into the weeds on how lawyers can become more creative. They have it inside of them. It's how to let it out. And
Yeah.
before we get to that, I want to, of course, introduce you in a more full way. Rochelle Seltzer, everybody, is the president of Rochelle Seltzer, creative core coach, and second time on the show. And give us a little bit of background because it is not in the area that you're in so much. I mean, it is and it isn't. That's what makes it unique.
So I started coaching over a decade ago after I sold a business that I owned for 27 years. Funny enough, I was in marketing and design.
Yeah,
So it ties into your first part of our conversation. I sold that business when I realized that so there's a good backstory to that. But when I realized that it wasn't really lighting me up anymore. And at the same time that I had that realization, even though I was an award-winning designer, I also realized that I had a big personal creative block about anything that wasn't right in my design lane. That I
yeah,
loved, but
yeah.
And so I decided that it was time to figure that out. And it was taking this deep dive for a couple of years of study with a brilliant teacher that I realized that I didn't know the beginning about creativity. I had like a sliver of awareness. And so I built this coaching practice to help other people activate the creativity that we are all filled with. We all came into the world filled with it, that most of us either deny or minimize, or we're told it's not practical, or we're told it's not important, or whatever it might be. And to realize that we have this extra asset that we can, take advantage of. And so I'm using it to help people live their best lives, do their best work, light themselves up, and have their biggest impact in the world.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. And creativity isn't just coming up with a design or coming up with an idea or a way of doing something or expressing yourself. I think it also can be how you um, solve a problem, right? I mean, it's like lawyers have time management issues. They're busier than they've ever been. Sometimes just it's how you creatively solve the time management issue of getting, more support or turning
Oh my
work
gosh.
away that maybe isn't the best work for you. Like there's so many ways to skin that cat.
Yeah, I have a whole keynote called Live Big Without Sacrifice. And one big section in the middle is about how do we multiply time.
Mm,
There are ways to do that. There are ways to approach your whole life that are not like, oh, I should take a better, time management course so I can be more productive and squeeze all that productivity out of every minute. It's creating
yeah,
space for the creative thinking, space for yourself to thrive, that you all of a sudden the best ideas will show up and the
right.
most meaningful things will show up, and you will be happier. I mean, we can talk about setting boundaries. We can talk about all different ways that we can help people to create that space. Ultimately, that's where you can really connect to who you are and not feel like you're just running on a hamster wheel like a machine.
Yeah. Yeah, we call it the
Yeah.
billable hour hamster wheel for lawyers
So do
on this
you?
thing. Yeah, yeah, that's what we
There we
I
go.
actually have not a yeah, I have an image that I put up and I post occasionally where it's a person in a suit running on a wheel, and I feel
And
bad
it's
for I
it's
feel
it's
bad for
like makes you
people in.
choke with stress just to think
Oh
about that.
yeah, it's just as hard as they can run to get the work in, and weekends and evenings, it just never ends, and it's just dumping on top of them. And as much as I say, hey, we got to focus on business development, it's like that's so far away from what they can handle because they're. I just spoke to a friend of mine the other day, and I said, hey, business development. She goes, I can't even think about that because I have so much business and it's great that they have all this business, but it's to the degree where they can't breathe and they can't take breaks and they can't really enjoy life because they're just crushed, and it's a lot of it has to do with the lack of creativity in delegation or figuring out, yeah, I know it's hard to hire people, there are other ways to go.
Yes.
You can raise rates and get rid of some weaker clients. You can
Yep.
fire some clients that are crazy and take them off your
Yep.
plate. You can hand them off to other law firms and
Definitely.
say, look, I'm getting help on this by someone, another firm, a teammate of mine, whatever it might be. So, but let's get into the weeds here. I mean, why does creativity matter, and how can getting more creative be helpful to a lawyer? I know we kind of already started down that path, but
Yeah.
let's finish that
Yeah,
story.
we really did. Because lawyers are so logical and they lean on the details, there's sort of this concept of the right brain, the left brain. So the right brain is the part that usually gets neglected. So the left brain is really busy with all the data and all the facts and all the strategies and all of those things. And it's the right brain. It's funny the way it operates. It needs a little bit of spaciousness, to your point of not being jammed all the time. When you can create short breaks, short um, ways to pause and breathe, much less take a walk to the corner and back,
Yeah,
um, eat your lunch instead of at your desk and multitasking. Like really sit and taste the food and chew it and digest it and give you what happens is the right brain picks up all that little factual stuff on the left side, and it can play and it can connect dots in a way that when you're rushing through your day, it never happens.
yeah.
And that's where the aha moments can come from. And that's where big things can happen that otherwise would never show up. And the other thing is that I teach people that if creativity feels scary for you, the idea of what most people think of as creative, oh, you've got to be super talented and you've got to be, brilliant, I don't know, artist or musician or writer or something. And that's what creativity is. And the truth is, you can start with just how you think, and lawyers are big thinkers, right? So, one of the things I teach is that the words reaction and creation have the same letters.
Mm. Wow.
What do most of us do? We react on the fly all the
To
time.
react
Rush,
all day.
rush,
We're reacting
react,
all day.
react,
Yeah.
react. So, if you take a beat, really just a brief pause and say, wait, what else is possible right now? What can I create to solve this problem? What's a better way? What's a better way to amplify an opportunity? If you slow down and you listen to your client enough that you get in touch with what the spidey sense is from your gut, your intuition, and go, wait a minute, what am I hearing here that's going to help me devise the best whatever? Big things change. So that's just an easy starting point that I think is not scary and that really people can take to heart.
Yeah.
How can I just not stop reacting as much?
Is that sort of the first step to tapping creativity, is to take that breath and take that break and give yourself some time?
I believe it is. I think slowing down, and that's why getting off the hamster wheel and all the ways that you talked about it takes me back to my business days when I knew we took on clients that weren't the perfect clients. But there was always a reason why my left brain overrode my intuition.
Mm.
Maybe there's a red flag here.
Yeah.
And you learn over time that when you're selective and you take on the right work and you don't cram your days that way, you're going to do better. Better things are going to happen. And yes, raise your rates if that's what it takes. If you're so busy, be more selective about who you work with. Do the projects that you love, that are really squarely in your zone of genius. Then you can create the space and not feel so pressured to be able to think like a creator. And when you start thinking like a creator and actually consider that word, how am I creating now? What am I creating now? Maybe you've got terrible alternatives in front of you, but which is the better one? And what's the next step to take that's the best step you can take? And then keep creating the next step after that.
Okay.
So your whole day can be filled with creativity.
So obviously I'm leaning in on the BD and the marketing for lawyers. That's kind of my jam. And so I know one of the challenges that they have is they want to get active on social media. They understand that's important. They understand, and they've heard me say, you're either, playing the game or you're sitting on the sidelines. And if you're sitting on the sidelines, you're not going to get, everyone's passing you by and everyone's getting ahead in that space. But I think their concern is that they don't know where to start, or they don't know what creatively they can put together that's going to be meaningful, because they don't just want to put out something, either too personal or maybe something that's really crappy or something that, has been said 100 times. So what do you how do you recommend they work through that?
Well, first of all, maybe not take it so seriously and just take
Okay.
a little bit of a risk. I
Okay.
always say when you step one little baby step over your comfort zone, that line of your comfort zone, you're already in a more creative space
Okay.
because the world is not going to fall apart if you don't put a great post up when you get started. You'll learn as you go.
Yeah.
And I think what I love is seeing people who show up authentically. Maybe they take a little snippet of a life experience and they make the connection to what their expertise is in the law.
Yeah.
Just find ways to play with those things and to show up a little bit more as a human and not just as a lawyer. So people do business with people that they relate to and that they like. So let a little bit of yourself show up and test the waters and play with it. Look for posts from other people that you admire.
Mm.
What can that inspire in you? What can that kind of give you a little moment of, oh, I could do something like that. It will be completely different because you'll
Yeah.
put your own content in, but start collecting. I make screenshots on my phone sometimes or on my computer when I come up with things that people have posted on LinkedIn that I think are really, really well done.
Yeah, I do the same. I do the same thing. Then I send them to my marketing person, and he doesn't do anything with them.
Oh,
It's like I guess I got to do it myself. That being said, he's got about 1,000 things on his plate, so I'm just like dumping stuff on the top of that. But I think s- getting ideas from other people that you can then alter in your own way is still creative. I mean, you're not
Yeah,
just copying someone, you're taking a concept of someone walking down the street talking into their phone about their day or about their potential solution, and you're doing it your way. it's
that's right.
it's you know it's still creative. You still have to be creative in doing that.
So, there-
But I also like the idea of doing something very different, like that no one is doing. And that could be in an article that I'm writing, because no one's writing. Like, I wrote an article about fishing. I went out fishing with my father-in-law, and as we're taking the boat out on the lake, I start jotting down in my phone some ideas about how this is similar to business development and fishing and business development. All right. Like, I'm the only one doing that. No one else is going to write that type of article the
More
way I'm
people can
writing it.
do that in cool ways. It will never sound like yours, but connecting the dots. Where do you see ways that this relates to, I don't know, intellectual property law or
Yeah.
criminal defense or whatever you do,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. And the other idea I had recently was I'm going to do some like Q&A, like here are the lawyers' toughest questions they have for me as a coach, and write them all down, and then one by one go through them on my phone and like do a video. But I was going to actually like hold my cat or hold my dog and just like kind of show the more personal side, because I'm home alone with these animals all day and I'm working a lot. But guess what? When I take my breaks, I'm down there with a ribbon playing with the cat. I'm taking the dog for a walk. Like, I'm having the whole like animal experience, like a little mini zoo here at the Fretzin household. And it's a lot of fun, and it really does, relax me. So I thought maybe I'd bring that into the mix. And I don't know how many people are doing business videos where they're holding, their cat or something like that. I'm
Right.
not committing to that, by the way. I'm just saying I thought about it, but I
But
don't know.
what I'm observing is that you're taking a playful, expressive, fun, what if kind of approach to thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that's the first step.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to feed that further. So what are some either exercises or something that you would put a client through to try to draw out creativity? Let's give everybody a little
So,
sample.
so how about this? You could be someone who loves to dig in your garden. I don't love to dig in a garden, but I have plenty of people that I know that they find that that just is their best way to spend time.
Yeah.
You could be a person who always follows a recipe or never follows a recipe and just is intuitive in the kitchen. So you can just, whatever you like, let's say intuitively putting food together, do more of that. If you always follow the recipe, what if you just deviate a little bit? Add that extra ingredient, substitute something out. What if you think about, because we all have to eat, those of us who don't order food all the time or
Right.
eat at restaurants, what if you just think about what are the most beautiful colors that I can plan in the same salad or the same meal and put it in the most beautiful presentation and invite people over and make it visually beautiful? Just small ways. If you love to do stuff with your hands, do more of it. Could be crafting, could be building in a workshop, it could be anything. Do the things, do more of the things, let's say, begin or add to the things that just light you up and make you happy.
Yeah. But the other side effect I think you're getting to this is it also helps you to release the creativity that you're bundling inside, or that you're hiding
Yes.
inside, digging
Or
into
that you
work
think
all
doesn't
day.
matter, but it
Yeah.
does matter, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Or that you
And
don't make time for because you don't think it's important.
yeah.
And what I see all the time is how much energy people then start to bring to everything. And people around you feel that energy. They notice it. You're more magnetic, you're more lit up, you're more excited, you're more curious. You're everything gets kind of activated in a great way.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And I don't know. I mean, I think part of I think the creative side of my business is the most enjoyable thing. I mean, I love coaching lawyers, and there's a creativity to that, right? Because I'm
Yes.
solving problems and I'm coming up with creative solutions, and I'm working them through, maybe putting it back on them so that they can solve it. And I just was the one who pulled it out of
Yes.
them, so I didn't have to, right? And they
Or
knew the answer. It was
maybe
just
you
inside
asked
of
a
them.
question that
Yeah.
you never thought to ask before because you
Yeah.
were in the flow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, all right, so I get all this stuff is going on. What do you think is really holding you back? And then I get a real answer. And it's like their head explodes, my head explodes, and we're both looking at each other like, all right, now we have something on the
Now you have
table we can,
material to
yeah,
work
now we have
with.
something on the table we can dig in further. Um, Ultimately, I think it's important for people to get into that creative thinking, but what can people expect when they start doing things that are creative and being expressing themselves more than maybe they currently are? They're not bringing out all of the joy and all of the expression they can.
What I see over and over again is how it changes conversations, changes thinking. It changes, as I said, the energy. It brings a whole new kind of perspective to something you never had before, and all sorts of possibilities can open up.
Yeah.
And being aware that you're kind of creating the conditions for that to happen, that in itself is energizing.
Okay.
So I would suggest just one little thing that might help people. I'm a big advocate of having some kind of morning practice to set up your day,
Yeah.
set you in a good frame of mind for the day, and spend, I don't know, turn on your timer, spend 5 minutes just writing. So let's say you wake up in the morning and you're feeling really psyched about something that's going to happen. Write about that and write about what that can look like in your day.
Mm.
Maybe you wake up in the morning and you're still remembering a conversation you had with a sibling the night before where they were upset about something and that's active, it's still like in you. Work that through as you write and give yourself a clean slate and set some intention for your day to be open, to be curious, to have fun, to experiment, whatever it might be. You start your day with a foundation and an intention that that has so much possibility. And I think it's a very small thing to bring into your morning, and it can be really, really powerful, can change your whole day.
Yeah. I love that. Something I do too is, and I'm sharing a lot about myself, I guess, today, but
Good.
is I find something really funny and I don't really tell anyone about it, but I write it down in my phone. And I just feel like it's something I may come back to. It's like, but it's something like, I found it funny and here's my take on it. And it's just a couple sentences, but I just feel like just making sure that something funny doesn't get by me, that it might be something I'm never, I don't know ever how I'm going to use it or how I'm going to share it or whatever that means. But I have like 20 or 30 things in my phone that I found funny and wrote a little bit
I
about it.
love
But I don't know.
that.
I mean, to me, that also feels like something creative or just a way to kind of, you know, see something and make a funny. I'm not Jerry Seinfeld, but like make an observation about
Yeah.
something that I find amusing. So I don't know if that does that fit into the.
So I do something similar.
Okay.
I don't know what it is when I'm washing my face, brushing my teeth in the morning. I tend to get these ideas
Okay.
that just pop in because I listen to music. I don't listen to news in the morning, and because I find that that sets me up also for a much better day.
Yeah.
And I leave myself voice memos, quick ideas,
I love
because I
that.
want to capture those snippets before they evaporate. And sometimes they turn into an article I'll write or a post I'll make. And sometimes they're just there to delight me or
Hmm.
to remind me of something that I was thinking about, where you then get to bring that into some part of your thinking in the day or a week later or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there one more tip you would give for people who are listening to this and they go, I'm like the least creative person I know. Like they're just like they're just like they're book smart, compliant, orderly people, right? Very
Yeah.
organized, but don't necessarily feel like they have a creative side.
I think my invitation is to re-examine that assumption and to recognize in yourself, maybe there was a way that you used to have fun when you were a little kid that you just shut down. Maybe there was an experience you had last week with friends at a party
Mm.
that just to think of anything that lights you up or has lit you up in the past and play with that piece of information about yourself. And how can I have more of that in my life?
Mm.
And how can I show up in a way where, let's say I did show up, forget alcohol, but show up authentically at a party. How can I bring a little bit of that part of myself into the rest of my professional life and
Okay.
really show up.
Yeah,
And
I can see somebody real quick. I could see somebody who maybe was in the band or marching band or something in
yes,
high school,
yes,
but gave up music.
yes,
Maybe start playing again.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a client once who had played the clarinet and she hadn't picked up that instrument in 20 years. And she actually was afraid to pick it up, but she started listening to classical music on her commute. And then she started singing. And then, she just woke up that part of herself that had been dormant. And it made a big, big difference
Yeah.
in her own spirit and in the way she showed up and in the way she was leading and the way people responded to her. It's truly can start small and really expand to be a meaningful part of your life.
Well,
Yeah.
very cool, very cool. Everybody listening, I hope you're taking notes or taking heed here. What Rochelle is saying. There's opportunities to, come outside of yourself and to really wake yourself up and bring some energy that maybe you currently don't have to the table. Probably give you some rippling effects that will put out in your life. And thank you so much. Let's go to our game changing book. 10 times is easier than 2 times. The old Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy scripture, if you will. Talk to us a little bit about that book. It's a very very popular book.
I've I am personally really I'm reading it, listening to it for the third time on Audible. It's so good. And I'm really getting more particular about the message. And the message is most of us spend our time trying to 2x what we're doing. And the truth is that when you focus on what's that 10x goal, that would be just tremendous. It doesn't mean you have to do it in 2 weeks or 2 years, but what is that goal? And then what are you going to let go of, defer, or drop so that your energy is focused on what's going to have that big impact
Yeah.
in your career, in your life? And I think that there's tremendous wisdom there because it includes a lot of what we talked about letting things go or deferring them to, or delegating them to other people to do so that you are in your genius zone and really moving towards something that's super exciting for you. Does everybody want to do this? No. But for people who really do want to embrace this idea, this book is a great guide to how to think about it and how to activate that
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So as we wrap up, I want to thank our sponsors. In particular, I want to thank rankings.io. They are a phenomenal sponsor. They just got done doing their PIMCon conference, and everyone that I talked to that went said it was top notch and first class and all of that. And if you guys are interested in building your website, your SEO, and just making sure you're getting leads in the door, you're going to want to check out rankings.io online. And also, many of you know about sales free selling. I talk about it quite a bit on the show. And if you're interested in coming to one of my sales free selling classes, I teach every Tuesday morning, 8 to 9:30 Central. It's an opportunity to audit, to meet my clients, to understand like what am I teaching lawyers every single week that's helping them to grow, double and triple their books over a shorter period of time, year or two. And you just have to email me at steve@fretzin.com, or you can go to my website and fill out the form, whatever you'd like to do. We will get together and then get you into that class so you can check out what's going on there. Rochelle, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to hear more about how to unleash their creative opportunities. What are the best ways for them to reach you?
My website is my name, RochelleSeltzer.com. And the book that you can sort of see over my shoulder this way is Live Big, a Manifesto for a Creative Life. You can learn about the book there too and see about all the work that I do. And honestly, Steve, my favorite thing is to be in conversation with people. So
Yeah.
I always welcome that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we did that today, and I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with everybody. And again, just getting everybody's blood flowing about how to be more creative and how that can really enhance our lives. I think there's nothing more exciting than coming up with an idea or exploring new possibilities. So, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for spending time again on the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. We are here again every week, twice a week, to help you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. Take care, everybody. Be safe, be well. We will talk again very soon.